Hello. Good evening, everybody. It is Lance Bell with TRD Politics. Now, this is a rarity. I'm running a live Friday night chat, and I never do that. So it's one of those ones where I'm getting set up now, so bear with me. Let's see here. So it's going to take me a few minutes, and Google decides to go down. Isn't that nice? Good holy moly. Go to the right one here. Go to the right screen. I had to get to the right screen because, Google's being goofy. It's one of those. So now go to view and watch page. That's what I wanted. That's the screen I needed to get to. Sorry about that, folks. Google's being goofy. So I'm going to get back here, do one more thing. Now, hopefully, I do have a viewer on here right now. Now, Ronald Thoreau is supposed to be joining me. I left him a message. Now, I just left a message on Facebook stating that, that I'm on right now. Let me do one more thing here. And it's one of those ones to where, folks, it's been a really, really, really goofy time right now. And it really has. And I hate to say that because I see everything that's going on in this country right now. And my question is this. What the hell would we do? I really got to ask that question. So it's one of those ones to where, like I said, what can you do? This country is going to hell in a handbasket and in a hurry. And before anybody makes this, because one side or the other side, hear me out. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has clean hands in this. They don't. This is one of the reasons why I really haven't done a video pretty much all summer. I'm actually sitting back and seeing what in the world is going on right now. And it's one of those ones to where, wow. It's like I said in last week's dinner in politics, what's going on in Charlottesville. And like I said, it should never happen. Now, I saw what happened up in Boston. Now, a lot of people talk about what happened up in Boston. Now, the gentleman from India there, I'm not sure he ran for city council or mayor. I'm not totally sure exactly what he's doing. That flies in the face of the narrative that the media was putting out. It throws it right back in their face. Not only that, the exact same day in Dallas, when Antifa attacked that BLM member, because that BLM member told them to take off their mask, and it got completely and totally buried by the news. It honestly really did. And I see people right now going on and on and on. And all honesty, I think a lot of it's just trolling. I really do. But it's just keep that in mind. And as you can see, folks, I'm doing other things too. Because I'm not back on, I'm going back to dual monitors just yet. So for me, it's a little bit goofy at the moment. And I know there's probably other stuff going on right now. And it's, I want to say there's some some live beer reviews going on at the moment. So a lot of my friends who do beer reviews are probably overdoing that at the moment. I'm trying to figure out a superlative to say. I really am. Because honestly, I'm now that I'm burned out of politics because of people's nonsense, and that's both sides. You have to remember something. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a moderate conservative, right? It's just one of those ones to where even the moderates are stepping away. And, Tim Cook on his video yesterday said the best thing about this. The either with us or against us nonsense, the game, in this particular instance, the game doesn't work that way. And it's not about people sitting on the fence. It's not even about that. There are moderates out there. I don't care if you're moderate conservative, moderate progressive, centrist. I don't care. A lot of them right now are just throwing their hands up and saying, "The hell with this." And I called this 3 years ago in one of my videos. Actually, you know what? I should have put that video up before I started this live stream to show you that what I said and when I said it, because I was 100% correct. I was a year off. I'll admit that. But I actually said exactly what I just mentioned. I'm gonna start with the right. Now, people on the right gotta understand something. It's not all horseshoes and rainbows. It's not, and I know you know that. We as American citizens have the right to criticize the President of the United States. Following blindly, no matter what, is a recipe for disaster. Go ask Team Blue at Obama. And you know that. And yes, I know you put a nice, nice, bright, shiny face on it. I totally get that. However, I'm looking for a beer, so bear with me. You gotta say, you know what? If he just stops the tweets. Oh, let me back that statement up for a moment. He can still tweet, but not the manner he's doing it. And yes, I know tweeting goes directly to the American public, and I totally understand, and I like that part. He totally bypassed the media, myself included. But the way he's doing it, even though he has settled down with that, I'll give him that in the last few weeks, for the most part. So it all really depends with that. Now, Team Blue, on to you. Let me do one thing here real quick. Oops, wrong person. Do one thing now. He's probably not around. But it's just one of those, you guys screwed the pooch so bad. So bad. That is an embarrassment. And super lefty Jim Cornette said it best in one of his podcasts. He said, now we're going to, and I'm paraphrasing, now we're going to screw this pooch, just hold his head. All you had to do now is hold his head. Excuse me. You played wedge issues and identity politics so bad. So bad. I'm seeing 3 classes of people now. One's the obvious one is either tuned you out, don't care. And those are the most dangerous of all. If they tuned you out for whatever reason, or they don't care, they might come right back around and destroy you. You got the ultra partisan people that believe anything any progressive site will put out and won't research it. That's a fact. That's why, like, I go into political web pages political Facebook pages I'm on, I'll look at the title, then I look at where it's coming from. And the first thing that pops in my head is consider the source. Straight consider the source. And that says a lot right there, because if it's coming from biased source, you're gonna get biased opinion piece. No matter how many facts you put into it, that's what's going to happen in my mind. The third one is the people who be against you to begin with, and you're never going to get those people. So chalk that up as a loss. So basically, in the three groups, two of them are against you, and you don't seem to understand that, and you think the answer is going farther to the left. Joe and Jane voter don't give a damn about that. They are interested, what are you going to do to help myself, my family, and the community? That's all they care about. Partisan politics are so bad right now, and that's why I said they're walking away. Why do you think so many people in the Midwest voted for Trump? Honestly. Until you understand that, I don't know what the hell to tell you. I had to check my sound there, I'm sorry. So it's, wow. You just don't flippin' get it. You really don't. You know, I just find it wow. I had to check something real fast there, I'm sorry, folks. But moving on, I'm going to address an article. Let me pull it up here. Speaking of the identity politics, I had to pull it out in its own window. I'm usually using XSplit for stuff like this, but I had to use this in this particular instance. And I don't like using them, but I'm going to use them anyway. This is from Breitbart. And yes, before somebody jumps on me, it says, Columbia professor urges Democrats to end the disastrous identity politics. Let me put a link in so you can follow along what I'm talking about. And I put that in there so you know, like I said, exactly what I'm talking about with this. And this says, I'm not going to read the entire article. Let me pull my window back up just in case somebody shows up. American liberalism in the 21st century is in crisis, writes Columbia University professor Mark Lilla, due in no small part to embrace of the disastrous identity politics that divides instead of uniting. In his newly released book, The Once and Future Liberal, after identity politics, Lilla, a self-described frustrated American liberal, decries the implosion of democratic policy and liberalism itself, brought on by a growing disconnect from middle America and an inability to put a compelling vision for the future. Do you know how many people have said that? Quite a few. I'm on Team Red and I've said that. I've tried to help Team Blue out with exactly what he's talking about. You know, and Lilla's work explains upon the end of identity liberalism, an essay he wrote shortly after last November's presidential election, in it he urged fellow liberals to face up to their party's share of responsibility for Trump's victory, which Lilla attributed to the rise of identity liberalism. You know what? That paragraph there is 100% correct. 100%. Because I said this all the way back in 2012 when Romney was running against Obama, that this was going to be a problem, a huge problem. And you know what? I was right. And he put it in a book form. And people think I really don't know politics. I called that so long ago. And people would PM me, thought that was absolutely nuts. Straight nuts. I'm scrolling down here, excuse me. Liberalism, Lilla contends in the book, is rightly considered by many as a creed professed mainly by educated urban elites cut off from the rest of the country who see issues of the day principally through the lens of identities. The quarter era Lilla suggests is that Democrats have thrown themselves headlong in identity politics, filling with divides rather than unites. As a result, many feel alienated from a party that wants to know how to bring people together. And this is a direct quote in the very next paragraph. The majority of Americans have made it abundantly clear they no longer respond to whatever larger message we conveyed over the past decades. Sorry, folks, I apologize for that. You know, and he's right. Like I said earlier, Team Blue screwed the pooch so bad, and that's why I was paraphrasing somebody else said, now we, as in the progressive elites, said, we're going to screw this pooch now. You just hold its head. And I mean exactly what I just said. You're not going to like it, but that's what it is. And here's the problem with Team Blue. You come back to three factions with you, you know. If 2 to 3 don't like you, now I'm seeing people now, and this is sad, that people are saying that, well, if you don't have a college education or whatever, college education, you're nothing more than conservative. Just one problem with that. The bulk of your voters, Team Blue, don't have a college education. With sentences like that, you're alienating them. So you mean to tell me that the only way you can be progressive is that you got a degree, or even worse, or even not even worse, not worse, or even more, an advanced degree? Is that what you're telling everybody? You're not allowed to be a progressive? Wow. People will run the Team Red. Straight run the Team Red. If you come off like that publicly, consistently. And I'm starting to see it now. I really am. So it's like, wow, 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 wow. Let me do one more thing, folks. I don't think he's around, but I'll put a link out there anyway. Let me see here. So I posted an invitation to person, Jake Ronald Thoreau. I thought he was going to be on with me tonight, but I kind of did drag it today because I was out and about, and I totally lost track of time. I really did. So Jay, hey, I'm sorry, man. I know you got to do, I know you're talking about doing, you going out and about tonight, but sorry. Get back to the right screens here, so give me one moment. I'm so disorganized tonight, folks. I totally apologize for that. But there's a lot of other stuff going on. You have the Houston flooding. Now look, guys. That was a once-in-a-lifetime storm there. It really was. And people are trying to point blame at somebody. Now, I can't speak for Harris County. I really can't. I honestly and really can't. In the surrounding areas. I know what people that I know that live there was telling me. You can only do so much. You really can't. 50 inches of rain in 2 days? And I'm thinking to myself, wow. I mean, the levees there, and I didn't even know they had levees until somebody said something. It's just that, and I think that one viewer is watching right now, thank you. It's, I didn't even know they had levees. But it's going to be a massive cleanup. We need to, in this particular instance, stop playing politics, all right? This is a major event, and I hope that the people down there make it happen. And the reason why I say this, I don't want another New Orleans. And New Orleans was a special case because when those levees broke, let's be real with there. There was institutional corruption that led to that, those levees failing. Institutional. It wasn't a red versus blue, left versus right. It wasn't even that. Straight up institutional corruption. Now, I don't think Houston has that. I really don't. However, in that case, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen because I'm not even sure if it's all crest by now. The water crest, excuse me. I'm not sure. So the people who live there has got to fill me in the comments or here in the live chat. You got to fill me in. So, we got that. Then the one viewer dropped off. So, hey, that happens. I'm running solo tonight, folks. What can you do? Oh, yeah, speaking of which, I want to address something. Let me pull this back up real fast. Let me see if I saved it. Let me see something real quick here. Yeah, I'm not seeing it now. Hold on, I know where to find it. This article pissed me off, and I can find this. I know exactly what I need to do. So give me one moment here. Yeah, something tells me I should have. Now I'm looking for it. I'm not gonna find it now. Yep, I can't find it. I can't find it now. It was just a dumbass post. Straight dumbass post. But oh well, what can you do? I should have looked it up, and I apologize, folks. But that's really going on. I've been rambling here for a few minutes, and nobody's really shown up. So it's like, hey, it's an open floor. Like, give you an example. Like, I'll be goofy right now. I'm going to look something up, and we're going to talk about it. Get to the right screen. If you're wondering, I'm actually on, dare I say it, Facebook, looking something up. I'm going to go on one of the political pages I'm on. I'm going to use Rational Political Debate. So it's I'm looking for something to talk about. It's just nonsense. Okay, now here's a pot calling the kettle black. This is from Medium. It says, pundits in politics are tactfully admitting that they lied about Russia. Yeah, no shit. I said that months ago. Months ago. Number one, they did for ratings. Number two, they don't like Trump. Number one is all about ratings and clicks. Always remember that. Two, they just don't like Trump because they beat Clinton. That's all it is. So keep that in mind. And like I'm looking at this article, let me pull it back up here for a second. It says, it's been nearly 3 weeks since the nation pushed an explosive memo from veteran intelligence professionals for sanity in the mainstream consciousness, with an article detailing the evidence that the DNC leaks last year could not have been the result of a Russian hack. By continuing to ignore the U.S. intelligence community and all the pundits in politics who admitted to the Russian hacking narrative and tactic admitted they lied. You know, there's a couple different ways you can look at it in that paragraph. Either that the pundits knew it was a lie and didn't care anyway, or two, that they were trying to shield the DNC. It's one of the two. There's no third option. There really isn't. And until people understand that, I don't know what to tell them. I really don't. So keep that in mind. I mean, I'll put the link in the chat so you can read it yourself. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. If it lets me put it in the chat. There we go. Now, and nobody's really on right now, so So I suspect people's not going to see it because this is a politics page. It really is. So one of those ones to where, hey, what can you do? We're living in a strange world right now, folks. We really are. Now, back to Antifa. So I spoke to him about the beginning of this chat. The people white knighting for him. Do you have a flipping clue what they're all about? Do you really have one? Because I don't think you do. I saw it happen in Berkeley last weekend. I saw it. I watched it live. They were going after people they were just people walking down the street, going after journalists. I mean, they don't, and believe me, people like talk about that one guy that got hit with a bike lock and almost got killed by one of them. They don't like talking about that because that completely goes against the narrative for your white knight. If a peaceful protest is met with violence, two things are going to happen. The people in a peaceful protest are going to start standing up for themselves, and people are going to join them, even if they don't like the message at all. That is human nature. Two, they're going to turn on you, and turn on you big, and I'm starting to see it now. So keep that in mind for you white knighters. And it pisses me off for that reason. Because there are people that warned Antifa coming to this country years ago. Now we got it. And people were white knighting for them. I don't want them around. Period. The end. If they would have came in peacefully into peaceful counter protest, no problem. No problem at all. And for you, Team Blue, I got a news flash for you. They represent you. They do. Because we're going to say that if white supremacists represents all conservatives, but that means by your own definition, Antifa reflects all progressives. That's how the game works. You don't get to pick and choose. Period. The end. But wow. I'm gonna get off here because I thought a person was gonna join. Let me check one more thing before I do. He's over on Beer Talk. I know he's around. Send me a direct invite. Let me see here. We did one more thing. He is around. We do here. Yeah, he is around. Yeah, sorry about that. There he is.
Yay. Hello, Lance.
Hello. Yeah, sorry I got on so late there. I ended up doing some running around and totally lost track of time.
That's okay. I can't stay on too long anyway because I have to go do some work at Bingo.
Yes, I know. It's like that's why I was trying to hurry up and get on for you as you took off for that. That sounds like big time there.
No, but it's charity bingo, so we don't keep the money. It's for charity.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
Profit.
Yeah, give me the rundown what I've been talking about. This is just the general news. I just got done talking about Antifa.
Yeah.
And what I don't know if you heard part of that, but like.
No, I didn't hear any of it. I was listening to a rock concert from 1975. So what did you say?
Oh, okay. No, totally understandable. No, I was saying it's like I was telling people that people was warning them coming to this country a few years ago. and they showed up, and I was actually in a nice, calm manner going after the people white knighting for them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen that too.
You mean making excuses for them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, you know, back 45 years ago, you had people making excuses for Weatherman and Symbionese Liberation Army and all of that. They're saying, well, the country's unjust, so it's okay to set off bombs. You know, that kind of attitude. We don't live in paradise, so it's okay to set off bombs. And because that's the whole mindset of Antifa. We're going to create this paradise on earth. We may have to kill 200,000 or 300,000 people, but in the end, it'll be worth it. You know, that's that old mindset.
Oh yeah, and that's my whole thing. It's like I was just saying, it's like I watched what happened in Berkeley last week live, and they were going after people just walking down the street. And I got a huge problem with that. And I'll give the mayor of Berkeley credit. He's finally saying something. Now he do something remains to be seen.
Right, yeah, don't just talk. I guess terrorism does bother a lot of people.
Oh yeah, and it's like, and I was saying too, it's like everybody's white knighting for this group. It's like, I don't know if you saw what happened in Dallas the same time was going on in Boston, where they attacked that BLM member. No, that got totally shoved under the rug. And it's
what about like a group like Antifa is they're extremely violent, and they wear masks like other terrorist groups of the past, and so anybody could be in it. You could have right-wing people infiltrating it to try to make them look bad, right? So like these kind of groups do that all the time. They infiltrate each other. So like you could have, say, like extreme right-wing activists. So they could wear masks so you don't know who they are. They're not going to get doxxed. So they infiltrate Antifa, and then they do the most extreme violence and to make them look bad. Not that that would take a lot of effort to make them look bad. And then on the other end, you have extremists on the left infiltrating right-wing groups that try to do the same thing, you know, make sure they're carrying a swastika flag, you know, and because you have these kind of incidences and people say, well, who is this guy with the swastika flag? We never saw this guy before. And no one knows who he is. But when the groups start wearing, and you get these extremist groups, they're always looking for trouble, you know, on either end, left wing, right wing. And they, but when they're wearing masks, it's illegal in most states anyway, but they don't enforce it. That's why they wear masks, so they don't face prosecution, of course.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a lot of cities have that. That's why, and that's the reason why it's like on Halloween or something like that, you know? And it's like, I'm seeing what's going on, and people trying to say they're not violent. It's like, they hit somebody hit with a bike lock. The guy almost died. And that's the story's getting really buried.
Anybody that would say they're not violent is just either a liar or they're detached from reality.
Yeah, or they're just straight trolling if you're online.
Right, they're just being a troll. It'd be like people are saying, well, the Ku Klux Klan, they weren't violent because, now see, they'll say because. Now, once they say because, that means they're about to justify it, you see.
Absolutely.
Like, so when Antifa, they'll say they weren't violent because they're fighting the capitalist, imperialist power structure, man. You know what I mean? So they'll, like you say, they white knight it. Or same thing with they'll justify right-wing groups that are violent. They're not violent because they're fighting against the Yankee Empire or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then somehow people will say, well, they don't use guns. Okay, so would you rather be killed by a bicycle lock or a gun? I mean, it's the same result, right?
Oh yeah, it's like they're going down that road anyway. It's going to get to that point.
I mean, you're killed, so would you rather be kicked to death or shot? But I would rather neither.
Oh yeah, same here. But if somebody asked me as it came on down there, like put the gun in my head and get it done and over with, you know.
So yeah, that's an interesting topic that you brought up.
Yeah, but I'm just so sick and tired of people just doing that. And like right before that, I was talking about what's going on in Houston.
Oh, I didn't hear that either because I didn't know you were on. You know.
Yeah, it's like when I ate real fast and I jumped on and I sent you the link and I didn't know where you were at. So I just started talking.
I was listening to the sports, and then I was playing that concert. You know. So.
No, totally understandable.
I said
I was talking about Houston. What's going on there is like people are trying to drag politics in that now, and I was telling people there is a once in a lifetime event. It really is. I mean, how often are you gonna get 50 inches of rain in 2 days?
Not too often.
Yeah. Now I would say like Drunken One, for instance. I was talking to him about it last week. I mean, he pretty much got lucky, but other people did not. And it's like people are trying to point the blame, and it's thinking to myself, okay, Houston is 45 miles in from the ocean. I mean, they got levees. I didn't know they had levees, so somebody brought it up. And everybody's playing the woe is me, how they're going to rebuild. And it's one. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
I'm saying I don't know if they're really that far from the ocean because if you look at a map,
I thought they were that far in.
Now, see, it's like New Orleans. People say New Orleans is 100 miles from the mouth of the river. This is true, but New Orleans is only like 10 miles from the ocean because, like, let's look at a map here of Texas. All right. So I don't know if you can see. Let me go back to the screen. Yeah, people are always going to take politics into it, but too much glare. Well, like, let's go to.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so there's Houston, right?
Correct.
And then people will say, okay, see, it's 45 miles from the ocean. But what they don't understand, this is the Galveston Bay, which is attached to the Gulf, and that basically goes up and it butts Houston.
Okay.
So it's a part of the Gulf. So all that water is going to rush right into the bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go into the city. So it's not actually 40 miles from the ocean. It's more like 4 miles from the ocean. It's sort of like New Orleans. I mean, the bay is attached to the Gulf, so the Gulf's going to go right into the bay. Like New Orleans, you got to look at these maps carefully. Let's see, Louisiana. Okay. Now, this is not a very technological way to show this, but let's see what we can do here. All right. So let's see. I'm got to look at it in reverse. Okay, there's New Orleans close up. Oh, wait. Okay. So there's Lake Pontchartrain. You might see that.
Yeah.
And there is New Orleans. So people say, well, it's 100 miles from the mouth of the river. So they're looking at it like that, all the way down the river. Okay, fine. But what you don't understand is here's New Orleans. Here's the Gulf. There's Lake Bourne, which is really a bay. So New Orleans is essentially on the Gulf. The water doesn't have to go up the river 100 miles, right?
Right.
It just rushes in right there where my finger is. It's right on the Gulf.
Correct. And it doesn't help New Orleans because parts of the city's under sea level anyway.
That's right.
Which a lot of people forget that fact.
Yeah, not all of it, but a good amount of it.
Yeah.
And so when one flood, all it takes is one flood wall to break. So one flood wall fell, well, water starts rushing in. That was it. They didn't have the pump capacity to pump it out. So then everything filled up. Well, then on the other side of the canal, they're safe. Only problem is another one of those flood walls fell on that side of the canal. So both sides, the western side of New Orleans and the eastern side filled with water. The west bank of the Mississippi River did not flood, though, because their levees held. So if you went to New Orleans on the west bank right after Katrina, even the same night, some of the parts did not even lose electricity, and they were watching TV and had air conditioning. And on the other side of the city, of the river, it was like Apocalypse Now, or Escape from New York,
Yeah, and it's like, and that's what a lot of people are saying right now is like it's gonna be another New Orleans situation where the rebuilding was slow, this and that. I think myself, Houston is a bigger refinery town than New Orleans. They'll be fine. That's what I'm thinking in my head.
It's just a bigger city, and
I mean, it's what is it, like the fourth, fifth largest city in the country. That's why I said they'll be fine.
Fourth, yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's pretty bad, but like this guy I know in New Orleans who's a civil engineer, and he made a lot of money after Katrina rebuilding, not rebuilding houses, but designing buildings so they wouldn't flood.
Okay.
He said, but he said, well, it's just water, you know, and his attitude, it'll dry, you know, but it does do a lot of destruction. And,
it does. You know, I talked about that a little bit. I really haven't gotten to this week's politics because honestly, it's been kind of a slow week.
Well, they spend a lot of time talking about Melania Trump's shoes.
Yeah, like I saw it and I'm thinking to myself, how is this news?
Because they said she went to Houston in stilettos, but she came off the plane wearing tennis shoes. I think CNN and MSNBC, they're the and CBS too, they're the Get Trump network. So their only goal is to bring him down. So when that's your goal, what do you think all the news is going to revolve around?
Fair enough. And it's like I'm seeing like all these, and you probably seen it too online. All these people go on these websites that are obviously biased. Because I was saying right at the beginning of the show, I was like, if somebody posts something on a political forum, number one, the first thing I do is look at the title and I look where it's coming from. And my first thing in my mind is consider the source, the very first thing. Because it's from a biased source, you're gonna bias right.
Yeah, because I was watching. Echo a little bit. I was watching CNN, and after Trump made that speech about the hurricane, CNN's headline was "Trump speech lacks empathy." It wasn't about this. It was just they said, "But that's how he is. He doesn't have empathy for people." And I said, "Boy, these people they don't give up." Only thing is, they kind of hurt themselves by doing that because it becomes so obvious what they're doing, and so then they start to lack credibility, and so they're saying,
and I brought that up too. It's like the people I'm talking about Joe and Jane voter, your average run-of-the-mill voter. They see this, they're either going to A, walk away, or B, go to support him because of the way they're acting.
Yeah, and back in 2016, all I heard on CNN the whole year was, well, it's pretty obvious he's going to lose. So basically, they were just saying, how bad is he going to lose? And it went on and on and on. And I thought, yeah, he'll probably lose. But then as the election got closer, and I watched the debates, the first debate I thought he did kind of bad. But I said he might be just holding back. Then in the second debate, he started dominating, and it seemed like Hillary Clinton was getting gun shy or something. And then right after that, they came out with the old 11-year-old recording, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, that's it. He's finished. It's over now. And that went on for days. But I thought to myself, no, I think they made a mistake. I think it's the opposite. People are going to look at it as though they're trying to dig up old dirt on him, and it's actually going to increase his support. Because here's an 11-year-old recording that this news outlet sat on, and they could have put it out 11 years ago. So they sat on it waiting to see if they needed to use it. That was like their ace card, their trump card. So they could see that Hillary Clinton was beginning to slip badly, and I was looking at certain polls that were showing Trump in the lead.
I was saying the same thing.
And people say, no, it's all over. But when they came out with that recording, it had the opposite effect. It sort of galvanized his support, and then it brought more people over to his side. And people said, and then the media was all with all their false indignation. Can you believe this man would talk about women like that? And I'm thinking, these are the same people that put all these stand-up comedy shows on HBO, and what they talk much worse, So it's very obvious that they're not really upset. And I think most people's attitude with all of that talk was, I talk the same way. I shouldn't, but I do. Everybody talks like that. And then I'm not saying people justify it, but that's how people talk. And so their attitude was, he talks just like me. He's got a real nasty way. And so that started to hurt her even worse. And then, of course, when James Comey came out with that business about, oh, by the way, I'm going to reopen this investigation of Hillary Clinton for some inexplicable reason, then it came down, and I thought to myself, if it's close the last week, he's got a good chance of winning. And you could see just by watching Hillary Clinton's body language, she was talking confident, but they seemed to have a look of dread on their face for about the last 10 days.
Well, I will use the sports analogy in that. She was playing not to lose. That's basically what it was. Because as far as the voters, it became a reverse psychology situation. They tried so hard, especially with like her unpaid trolls, with all the shaming and the gaslighting and all the nonsense. They were going to go to him anyway. And I saw this coming about a month and a half before it actually happened.
Yeah, it seemed that way, that they were playing not to lose. And she had a lot of disadvantages. For instance, her widespread, unappealing presentation. You know, she was not a well-liked person since 1992. For instance, she was largely seen as being a fake and a heartless type person, a ruthless type person. And I think another thing that hurt her campaign very badly and helped his campaign was the Saturday Night Live clips, because I watched those very carefully, and they tried to make it look like she was the intelligent, you know, establishment candidate, and he was the buffoon, the reality TV guy, the nutcase. But it didn't come across that way. It came across that she was disingenuous. She was fake in all of her emotions, and that he was unflappable. He came across with the Alex Baldwin spoof that he was unflappable. You know, he didn't care. You know, they would make fun of him, and he just didn't get it. He would never get it. I don't get it. He was unflappable. So to me, those skits actually helped him. And of course, you remember how stunned Saturday Night Live was. And then they had their worst moment ever in the history of that 42-year-old television series, where the lady was playing the piano and says, I'm not giving up, and neither should you. I said, boy, they just exposed themselves as being so biased, and it was such a weak moment.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So it was comical, because all the strategies they used tended to backfire. And
well, that would happen because, like, I even said this years ago. Like, she got basically handed the nomination, and nobody believed me until Sanders got shafted. That's when people started paying attention.
Yeah, when they showed Donna Bazile and them were plotting, the Democratic leadership was plotting against Sanders all along to spike his campaign.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like
stuff in the foot. Yeah.
And I didn't agree with 30% of Sanders said, right? But I always expect, and this would help Trump more than anything else, he was real. And you get a lot of miles with a lot of people just on that alone.
Right. You mean you could be goofy and still be real. You know, he was kind of out there, but no one was shocked. You know, like they were telling everyone that as though this was some kind of news to people. Oh, Trump, he's eccentric, he's strange, he's peculiar. Well, everyone has been knowing that for 30 years. So why is that? Everybody knows how Donald Trump is.
Yeah.
We've been knowing about Donald Trump our whole lives, or since I was a teenager. This is not news, okay? Now, somehow that was supposed to be news to people, that he was peculiar. Secondly, Bernie Sanders shot himself in the foot and destroyed his own campaign. If you watched his debate with Hillary Clinton, it gave him the most softball pitch in the history of politics about the tapes, the emails, I'm sorry. And what does he say? No one gives a damn about the tapes.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear about the damn tapes. I'm like, you just destroyed your campaign, idiot. Because that was it. He had her trapped. He could have come out against her and said, this is serious. This woman has compromised national security with these classified emails. She ought to be indicted. And he could have gone up. She would have gone down. But what does he do? No one cares about the damn emails. The day after that debate, what did you see about Sanders? He starts to go down.
Well, that's one of the rare times, and I jump on politicians about being about themselves. That's one of the rare times he should have been about himself and forget the party. That's one of the rare times some politicians should have did that.
He had all the momentum, and secondly, he was supposed to be the outsider. That's the maverick. That's not going to play party politics. So what does he do? He shows that he really was part of the establishment. Here's a guy in 1974 saying, "It's so terrible. Nixon must release these tape recordings. The American people must know what is on the tapes." Here we go. 42 years later, and what is he saying? No one cares about the damn emails. So, in other words, if it's a Republican and he's sitting on tape recordings, it's a very serious situation. But since it's a fellow Democrat and she's sitting on 33,000 emails, classified, mind you, classified, it's not a big deal. So people started to abandon him after that.
Now, and I don't blame the people that abandoned him after that. And like I said, he should have gone straight after that. And you're absolutely right. And a lot of us said that.
I mean, they've handed you the nomination on a silver platter and you blow it. So, yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, even though I will say this, Team Red wasn't that much better. Because no, hear me out. I said this, and you hear me talk, I'm moderate conservative. I said from the beginning that Donald Trump, I don't know what he was doing at the start. I really didn't. But it was one of those ones to where there was better candidates. But the media and the DNC propped him up. And it backfired on him big time, as we see now.
Well, I was watching Trump from the get-go in 2015, and I thought, well, this is peculiar. Because I never cared for him. He always seemed like some kind of crackpot, So it said Donald Trump's running for president. I said, this guy here.
And when I first heard that he was actually going to run, I said, he's just doing it for a book or whatever. Then I started thinking about it. This for everything that happened during the election cycle. I was like, his Jupiter, if he's actually serious, his Jupiter-sized ego would not let him lose.
Yeah,
and I tried to explain that to people, and people thought I was nuts when I said that.
And I did remember him. Then I started to remember, and I said, oh yeah, he was the guy that kept talking about Obama wasn't born in America and all that. Oh yeah, I remember that. He wouldn't let it go. So then I had forgotten about that. I said, oh yeah, okay. Then they interviewed him on 60 Minutes in 2015. And I watched it and I thought, let me see this clown show. But I said, oh, this guy might be the real deal because he's talking like me, the way I talk. So about foreign affairs and whatnot. Now I said, now whether it's true or not, we'll see. But after that appearance on 60 Minutes, the whole Republican establishment started going after this guy. So all your Lindsey Graham and your McCain and all of the Republican, I call it the Republican liberal New York City establishment, they started going after Trump. We got to bring Trump down because he wants to make friends with Russia. We can't end the Cold War. We got to make the Cold War, continue and all that.
Oh yeah.
Too much money in that.
I mean, I honestly think he really wants peace, and he wants peace. I really do. Now, his North Korea situation, I have no idea.
I think he might surprise the world like Nixon did in 1972. I think you might, and I don't know this, I'm just speculating. What a shock it would be if suddenly you find out that he's going to go to North Korea and have a week-long summit.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Oh, like the Nixon to China to the wall, that type of deal.
Right. Trump goes to North Korea and they make a non-aggression pact and they start a trade agreement. Because in 1972, people would have thought, that's crazy. That would never happen, because Nixon was supposedly the big anti-communist and
yeah, but Nixon knew how to work the system too.
Yeah, but people that knew him, that paid attention to him carefully, he had written an article in 1967 in Foreign Affairs magazine where he talked about making a peace treaty with China. So he had talked about that 5 years before, but no one reads Foreign Affairs magazine except from academics, you know.
Yeah, or the super diehards.
Right. Because they don't have any pictures in those magazines. They just have 30-page articles, you know. But
actually, you know what? You brought up something interesting about him going to North Korea. I honestly, this is gonna sound crazy. The catalyst, if he does that, the catalyst is gonna be Dennis Rodman.
Could be. Hey,
I mean, he's been there a couple of times. He's cool with everybody over there. He might be the go-between.
I'm not saying that Donald Trump is going to go to North Korea. I'm saying if he does do it, remember who told you that it could happen.
Oh, yes. Yes, mark the tape right there. If I do a show on that, I'm referencing this chat.
Remember who said it on the internet, that don't be stunned if Donald... And then if he could get all that Russia investigation behind him and all of that business, because they're trying to do that because they don't want him to make peace with Russia. If he could then have a peace summit with Putin and then settle all their differences and have a trade treaty with Russia and make a friendship with Russia. But you see, his own party doesn't want that. You see, Donald Trump doesn't have to worry about the Democrats because he's going to have to worry about his own party. His own political party, the Republicans, generally don't like him. So,
well, honestly, now I have a prediction with that. And I actually kind of said this in passage about 6 months ago. I said that if this continues the way it's going right now, on the very next State of the Union, he's going to call him out right there on live TV in front of 40 million people. He's going to.
May as well. I mean, people say...
I mean, he has nothing to lose. I mean, like, either you're going to do this or you lose your jobs via votes. I see him doing that.
He's... People say he controls Congress because his party has a majority in Congress. Donald Trump really only has about 30% of Congress on his side, because most Republicans, like I said, don't like him. So he might only have 30% support. That's the danger for him, because the internationalists that control the Republican Party, they do not want peace with Russia. They certainly don't want a new trade protocol, you know, where America first trading. They want the globalist trade. They certainly don't want peace with North Korea. So they don't want, you know, so basically they hate the Donald Trump platform. They talked about getting rid of Obamacare, but that was just talk so they could win elections.
Yeah.
They don't really want to get rid of it. So, I mean, if they wanted to get rid of it, they control Congress. They have a majority. They could simply repeal it, do a direct repeal. So,
yeah, but they'll have to face major heat from the American public. I mean, it's just public opinion at that point.
Yeah, but for the last 6 years of the Obama administration, the Republicans kept passing a repeal of Obamacare, but of course they were safe because they knew he would veto it, you see, and then they could blame Obama. Now they can't pass it because then Trump would sign it.
I mean, that's not totally true. Like when Paul Ryan first put his plan out, Trump come out and said publicly he was going to veto that one.
That was not a direct repeal. That was a repeal and replace, remember?
It was the way he was going about it.
It was taking away Obamacare and replacing it with something else.
Now Rand Paul's, he just looked halfway decent, but the Senate won't even look at it.
Right. So like Trump got frustrated and said, well, let's forget about replacing it for now. Let's just repeal it. Y'all all said you hated it, so proof's in the pudding. If you really wanted to replace it, if you really wanted to repeal it, just repeal it.
Oh yeah, he called their bluff. That's all he did.
And they said, oh, well, we'll get around to it someday. Yeah. So yeah, but he might go down like Tony Montana, you know. Maybe he knows he's going down, but he's gonna, you know.
Hey, sometimes you got to do that, though. You're going down, you might take everybody with you, or at least maybe go down swinging.
Like you might tell him, you messing with Trump, you're messing with the best. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. People say he shoots himself in the foot with Twitter, but most Americans love that kind of stuff, Twitter, and they like these people that shoot from the hip. They like bombastic people that speak their mind. They actually like that more than the careful politicians who measure every word and everything they say is scripted and fake. So
that's the American way, though. We've always been like that.
Yeah, the media doesn't like it because they like to control the question.
And I brought that up, like, before you join in, it's like he's going to the American public directly what he's doing. Now, granted, he shouldn't say some of the stuff he says, or at least word it a little bit better.
Yeah, like, I'll give you an example, like with Charlottesville. When he first talked about the incident in Charlottesville, he spoke his mind.
And he was 100% correct when he said what he said, but
right.
People jumped him about it.
And then the Democrats and even some of the weaker Republicans said, oh, you can't make equivalency and all of this baloney. So then he comes back and says, oh, well, I condemn blah, 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 you know. And then he got mad in private, probably said, screw that. Why can't I say what I feel? And then he basically retracted it on the Tuesday after by making the speech saying, you know, hey, these people, these Antifa people, they just went on the rampage. They were attacking people, you know. And so it shows the two Trumps, like the regular Donald Trump just says what he thinks. And then they get on his case, and then he's got to make these little scripted speeches, but that doesn't suit him too well.
No. He wrote, I think you just give him bullet points and let him run from there. He'd be fine.
Yeah, he can pretty much talk without a script, which makes him a very different type of president, because all I remember from my lifetime is these terrible politician presidents. You know, they're just fake. They're just
okay. Well, like, you're a lot older than me, but it's on like I'm kind of thinking to myself, okay, I was at the very end of the Carter administration.
When you were born?
Yeah, I was born in the beginning of 1980. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, he don't count. So I had Reagan, Clinton, both Bushes, and Obama. Yeah,
Reagan was interesting. I call him a conservative liberal. He wasn't a real conservative. He was just a conservative liberal. He was a New Deal Democrat who quit.
Oh, I think you're saying, okay.
He was a liberal Democrat in the 1930s and 40s. He would be considered left-wing today, but he quit the Democratic Party because he felt like it was being taken over by communists.
Well, it's probably the 1950s Red Scare, so okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he said they're not doing anything about it. Remember, he was the president of the Screen Actors Guild in Los Angeles, a very liberal group. But he said, but when he would talk about communist infiltration, they would attack him, and he even had threats against him. He said, wait a minute. So he figured, well, the Republicans, they're pretty liberal too, which they were in the 50s. So he joined. And then since he didn't really become more liberal, he was starting to be considered conservative.
Yeah, even though if you go back and look at his policies, I mean, outside of military, he really wasn't that conservative.
Yeah, and that whole business about the military, you look at a lot of the people who promoted the U.S. building up the U.S. military and getting involved in stuff around the world. These were the liberals. Woodrow Wilson, Democrat, liberal Democrat, World War I. The conservative Republicans were the ones that wanted to stay out of those conflicts around the world. Your Warren G. Harding and your Calvin Coolidge Republicans.
Well, absolutely. Like, you go like way back in time, like even like Dwight Eisenhower. I mean, he was the general. He didn't want nothing to do with war. He's got stuck with Korea, you know? Well,
he's the one that ended that. But you had Franklin Roosevelt, who was big on building up the military. We're going to build a strong military, and we're going to help the Allies in World War II get involved. Okay, so this whole business about having a strong military being some kind of conservative thing doesn't really add up.
Correct. We start looking at it from the historical timeline. Correct.
Kennedy and Johnson built up the U.S. military. And they weren't conservative; they were liberals. Kennedy,
correct. Like, and especially with Kennedy, he was a no doubt about it hawk.
Many of those.
Johnson, he had to extend what Kennedy did, given the circumstances.
Yeah, most of the liberal presidents were hawks, war hawks. Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson. Bill Clinton wasn't exactly a dove when it came to Yugoslavia or Iraq. Obama wasn't exactly a dove when it came to Libya, Syria, Iraq, or Afghanistan, or Russia. Look at the Obama-Clinton administration. They were so aggressive towards Russia. They basically invaded Libya and Iraq, in Syria, by supporting these rebel groups. So I'm trying to figure out where all this liberal means promoting peace when all these guys are
okay. Optics is very important because I hate to say this for people who's watching this on a replay. A lot of you folks out there don't research. Period. Bottom line. The end. If you actually knew, and exactly what you're saying, Jay, it's like, you know, they would know exactly what you're talking about right now.
A lot of people don't do any research because a lot of people don't read anything.
Correct. And it's like American history. I mean, that was my minor when I was in school. So I know a lot of this stuff. So it's like, now I will give, now, especially like me growing up, like I'll give, now the one thing I will say far as Team Blue, far as getting involved, being hawks or whatever, the one thing I wish Clinton did was get involved in the Balkans when all that ethnic cleansing was going on. He left them to NATO, which was a bad move.
Well, no, they did get involved because
I mean, not to the extent that they should have.
No, they did get involved because Yugoslavia fell apart in 1991, and then a war broke out in Bosnia Herzegovina in 1992 between the Croats, who were Catholic, and then you had the Serbs, who were Eastern Orthodox and supported by Russia. And then you had the Muslims, okay, who had a lot of connections to even Osama bin Laden and all of them. Okay, so you had the Muslims versus the Croats and the Serbs versus the Croats and the Muslims, and then you had the Croats versus the Muslims and the Serbs. Now, my opinion, even back then in '92, was stay out of it.
Well, my whole thing was like, even though I was like, I was in my preteens then, I actually did a paper on this. I wish I could find it, but it's one of those ones to where I said the U.S. should gotten more involved, other than sending funds, ammo, stuff like that to NATO.
No, they actually bought U.S. warplanes actually bombed Serbian positions in Bosnia. Remember, American jet got shot down, and they went and rescued the pilot. But for some reason, they decided that the Serbs were bad, and then you had all this propaganda there, murdering people and everything. I think it had to do with the fact that Yeltsin and Russia supported the Serbs, and that was a way to get at Russia, to keep the Cold War going. We're going to get at Russia, so that stir up that conflict. And then remember, in '99, the United States and NATO basically went to war with Serbia with that 3-month bombing campaign, bombing Belgrade, bombing the TV station at Belgrade because they didn't want them broadcasting. Now think about that. They were broadcasting bad things about America and Bill Clinton. So they bombed the TV station and killed all the people in the TV station. Now that's standing up for democracy, isn't it? So, and killing all these people. So that's my whole point. These liberals have a tendency to really love war, but they'll always justify, but we had to in this case. I call it the peace through war program. I said that when Clinton was president. I always said that I don't support Clinton's peace through war program, or Bush, by the way, in case somebody thinks I'm taking up for Republicans. I never supported George W. Bush and his peace through war program.
No, I totally understand that. Especially when we're talking about, you're referring to Bush the Elder, right?
Talking about George W. Bush.
Okay. I want to make sure.
Like the elder, I don't like the elder, but George W. Bush, I never voted for him, and I thought he was a horrible president, in fact.
Well, I didn't really follow politics back then, so I have no idea. As far as the elder.
I'm talking about George W. Bush.
Junior. I'm sorry, Junior.
Yeah,
Junior.
from 2001.
No, here's my opinion on Junior. I don't think he was a puppet. I really do.
He was. He had no sense. It's easy.
I know if you actually hear him speak, he meant well, but he was a puppet for Cheney. That's what I think. And everybody else in that cabinet outside of Colin Powell was stuck.
He had some really nefarious people, Donald Rumsfeld and Cheney and all these warmongers, and they were bad news in my opinion. And Bush, people said he's a conservative. I said, how? In what way? Because he's very liberal, that makes him conservative, and he's very reckless and stupid. I mean, I never could see what he had. I can't think of one good thing he ever did.
But the one thing with Bush, with G-Dub, the one thing that I think he really put himself out there was Common Core. Now, and you as an educator, I looked at it from this. He meant well in what he wanted to do. His concept of it. The flip side was the execution was piss poor. Very poor.
I don't care if he meant well or not. I'm just saying like you're saying, the execution was terrible. He was the worst. He was bad. Now, I thought Obama was terrible for 8 years. I thought, I can name a lot of presidents who I thought were terrible.
Well, that's the thing. You have a longer timeline than me as far as presidents. I mean, I said, people jump on me when I said Obama was average. A nice way of putting it. Average. Not great, not bad, just meh.
In my opinion, if Obama would have been a beer, he would have been a Minhas product. He would have been beer 30 ice.
Wow. That bad?
And George Bush was beer 30 light.
I never thought of putting presidents in the realm of beers. I never thought of that. Wow.
And the first George Bush was beer 30 premium. They were Milwaukee. No, I'm sorry. He was Milwaukee Special Reserve. I'm just thinking of all the worst beer brands.
Wow, you're like bottom when you start those beers like that.
Yeah, maybe, you know what? Maybe George W. Bush was Camo, and then maybe Obama was Camo Extra Ice or something. One of those horrible Camo brands.
Okay, I won't go that far, but
Well, hey, you keep talking. I have to go get my shoes on and get ready because I have to.
Oh, if you got bingo, I'm so sorry. It's like 7:16. I was not looking at the clock.
I got to roll.
Oh, snap, folks. I totally apologize for that. That's Ronald Thoreau joins me tonight. I started this late, so I apologize, folks. We had a good chat tonight. I was on for about an hour, 20 minutes or so I'll take that.
Now, the last president I thought that was any good, and I don't know if I would have voted for the guy, but I thought the last one that was any good was Richard Nixon, because he was trying to make peace with Russia, make peace with China, end the Cold War. Oh, well, they had to get rid of him. So
we had a lot of side stuff going on and doomed him.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story. The whole Watergate thing is very weird.
Yeah, but he brought a lot of policies to the table that we enjoy today. That's for sure.
And Nixon was liberal. I mean, he was a New Deal liberal. He wasn't exactly some kind of right-wing Republican, but he did have these ideas. He literally wanted to end the Cold War. Oh, well, when you start talking like that, you're not going to have too many allies in Washington, D.C. in your party, either in the other party or your own party. And that's why I think Trump has so many people against him in the establishment, because he doesn't talk right. This business about peace and friendship with Russia, we cannot have that. We have to have conflict, right? Apparently, war makes the world go around in these people's sick mind. And then people have asked me, what's the last president you ever thought was any good, really good? I say, oh, Grover Cleveland.
That's going way back. That's why I said Eisenhower.
1897, he got out of office in 1897. But yeah, people say, you're a Democrat? I tell them, yeah. They say, what kind of Democrat? I say, a Grover Cleveland Democrat.
And you probably get that blank look on their faces when you say that.
Yeah, go read about Grover Cleveland, who was elected president he was the only person elected president 2 different times.
Correct, non-consecutive legend. That says a lot right there.
Got elected, then he lost re-election, and then he got elected again.
Yeah, even though his second term was like, yeah, his first one was real strong. You go back and look at history regards to president of the United States.
Yeah, his second term was plagued because there was an economic depression, which was actually caused by the guy who he beat to become president the second time. But of course, they're going to blame you, you know.
Correct.
So anyway, all right. Well, it was good talking to you, and we'll have to do this again. I like talking about politics, probably more than beer, I guess.
Oh yes, like this is one of those experimental shows. So it's like I'll make a decision sometime next week. I'm gonna do this again on a Friday afternoon.
I'm game.
All right, we got one person, ladies and gentlemen. That's Ron Thoreau, and I will see you later. All right.
Okay, and by the way, it's pronounced Terrio.
Oh, Terrio. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like Cheerios.
Terrio.
Terrio. That's okay. All right. Take care, Lance. Enjoy those natural ices.
I'll try. Well, folks, there you have it. It was actually a really good chat tonight. I thank for the people that were watching. I'm gonna get off here because I have other stuff to do. I thank you for watching, and always, 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 always be careful and remember, TRD.